Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Another fun-filled Monday. It's Monday. That's right. We are here. It is just another, it's TGIM. All right, let's take a look and see what's going on. Interesting, I saw the cable slide into a weekly buy last week, and so did the euro, and now they're sliding right back into a weekly sell. It's not exactly that wild or woolly when it comes down to it, and we're coming down to the end of the summer. Maybe that'll start to perk things up a little bit, but I would say that there's just a lot of noise, and I don't think you can describe it any better than that. It's just a lot of noise. I mean, between the Afghan situation, the inflation that's been going on for 4 months, we're seeing strength in the dollar when we shouldn't be seeing it. You know, things like that that just make fundamentals not fundamental anymore, that's for sure. All right, let's take a look at the Swiss. As you can see there, the Swiss is, let's get the Swiss is moving up. You can see the white line and the, what do you call that, the stochastic, the fast versus the slow, that's what we call that. And let's get our fact check spreadsheet up there, like so. And you can see Swiss is line 21. And we've been six weeks in a weekly sell, and it looks like it's trying to battle its way out of that today. Let's just show you what it looks like on Chicago Quant. What's that? That's the euro. That's British pound, actually. I was looking around before we started the webinar. It's a bit more strength than I'm expecting. You know, after going into a weekly sell last week. You know, when it came to the British pound. But here we are in the Swiss again. You can see, with not a doubt, it's moving up strong. You can see right here, we are just flirting now with a daily buy. And you can see over in Chicago Quant, it's the same way right there. They're both acting extremely strong, which is a little surprising again, because we do have, you know, a lot of inflation kicking out. And why would you buy dollars when you know that they're going to be beat up by inflation? I guess there's only one answer to that whole thing, and that is that it's global. So in other words, the inflation that affects the dollar is going to affect everything. You know, in other words, other currency pairs. So I guess they're running towards the dollar, which is curious. And you can see here we're even flirting with the weekly buy in the first day of the week. So money is running towards the dollar, not away from it, which is curious in its own right. When we look at, let's see, what else can we look at on this chart? There's the weekly. There's the daily through the numbers. Down here you can see, same thing, it's trying to get through, and it's a red at the moment here. Obviously up here we don't have any dot at all. It's blank, so that means it's moving up slow and steady at this point. And that's where we are with the Swiss. And that's the indication, I guess you could say, of the way the dollar is moving against all the pairs. Now we're going to jump over to the euro. And again, as we said, you can see there, the euro went into a weekly buy last week after something like 11 or 12 weeks in a buy. And next thing you know, here we are, first day of the week, working on going back into the sell. Now you can see here on Chicago Quant, the product is trying to lift. We're up a little bit today. And let's see how it looks over on J4X. And there we are. And it has also been in a, I guess it's been in a buy just like the way the Chicago Quants had it in a buy for, what's that, 5 days? That's line 14. Yeah, 5 days. This is a 6 day. So the action is people running towards dollar, or institutions running towards dollar, or somebody's buying dollars. Maybe it's the Fed itself, who knows. But in the end result, that's what's going on, is our math is picking it up and it's saying that it wants to go up in value, which is, again, not much driven by fundamentals, that's for sure. All right. What else can we say about that? I guess that's about it. It's fascinating that it's doing this. I really thought we'd at least get a week of being in the buy, but we're already backing off, which is a real surprise now. All right, now we'll look at the cable and see what's going on there. Put it up on J4X. They are trading at the 137.66 area. There you go. You can see it has also been running in a buy. Over on Chicago Quant, it's doing, let's see what it's doing there, right there. It's been in a buy. It couldn't go into the sell yesterday. I guess it was there. It went into the sell for a day. Climbed back into the buy yesterday. It's a little bit firmer today, but none of this action is making a lot of sense to me. It's just classic, central bank, end of the summer type of sloppiness. It just goes sideways. It doesn't really give us much direction. Due to the fact that the cable went into a weekly buy last week. You can see it there also on line 13, right there on the fact check spreadsheet. 1 week in a buy, and now just jumping right back into the sell. There's no conviction. That's what we like to refer to it as, conviction to the, for money to be in it. Instead, it's just waffling, going back and forth like tree, like leaves in a tree during a storm. They're just waffling back and forth, and it just isn't doesn't look like there's any real commitment to a direction. And we've been looking at that too. What do we do? We looked at it. I guess let's see. There's the euro. Let's look at the euro. You see the trapped range that's been in for a long while. I mean, over a year, like that. It got up to the top of it, sat on top of it for like almost a month, and rolled over. I mean, it's been in that trading range for a while, bouncing off the area down here, hitting the top of the area back in there. It just goes on, resisting and fighting to try to climb out of it, but failing, bouncing off of it, but failing to go further down. It just, and that's October of last year. That's 12 months right there alone. So then we've been observing the same thing going on in the Swiss. Let's go back to the Swiss for a second. Right there. And it seems to have developed a channel over the last 3 months. It's inside the channel. That's the amazing part, is it's a channel inside the channel. It's like there is no conviction whatsoever for money to commit themselves into any of these products. And obviously the dollar, for something that we keep on thinking, well, they're going to finally sell it down. The management of government is in such shambles over the last 6-7 months, maybe 8 months. I don't know what it is now. It's been in such shambles that you would think that people would run away from the dollar, but instead, I guess the world is in worse shape than the U.S. That's the only way I can interpret that in a fundamental way. All right. And so there you go, see a channel inside a channel. Alrighty, now let's see, where do we go from here? We were just looking at cable, so let's jump back to the cable real quick. Alright, cable. You see here on J4X, there it is there too. And that's another one of those that's been trapped in a very large range. It looked like it was the 138 to the 142-ish area, and you can see there that's basically 9 months right there, and it seems like it is making higher lows, but of late this last one here, you see it took out the lows here, and this did take out that little high here, but it needs to get up and go up there again and start to show that it's going to take out some highs, and if not, then money's just going to sit to the side again. All right. Oh, excuse me. Let me just take a sip of water here. There we go. What else? There's not much to be said today. It just seems like we can, we'll look through the neighborhood, see what's going on with all the products, and, it doesn't seem like there's a real clarity to anything. This is going to be our slow week. This is our May Day. You know how everybody back in May does the labor thing, you know, on the first day of May? Well, here in the United States, we start to do that in the middle of this week, at the beginning of Wednesday, I guess like Thursday and Friday, markets will get slower and quieter, and then Monday the country will be closed for Labor Day. And so we do ours in September. All right, let's take a look at Turkish Lira. Right. Where are you? There you've got to be around here somewhere. There it is. Now I think it did close on a daily buy. Was that 17? Yeah. No, it closed 3 days in a sell. 6 weeks in a sell. There it is right there. That's the dollar Turkish Lira, which we find less accurate in many ways compared to the euro Turkish Lira. It seems to be much more interesting a product to watch. But the thing is that this generates more trades. So we watch this and we watch to see the difference between the two, which is, you know, it is insightful in many ways. All right, let's take a look at it on Chicago Quant now. Right there. Now it's showing that we closed in a daily buy yesterday. Okay, that's interesting. And why is not ours reflecting a daily buy? So the euro, that's 17. It still says 3. That's a curiosity. All right, well, we might as well fix that to begin with. So it looks like very clearly, let's just put that up there and show you what we're talking about, that it did close in a daily buy. That's where it went into a daily sell. So let's fix that on the spreadsheet. Let's see, where are you again? 17? Yeah, that's it, 17. Not sure why it reflects that. That's kind of interesting. Back and 1. There we are. Now Ruble, I didn't remember seeing that. I did see that get knocked down, but let's just take a look at the euro against the Turkish Lira, and then we'll go over to other products that we usually look at. Not the Ruble yet, but we will go through the Ruble unless someone wants to see the Ruble right now. There is the euro Turkish Lira. It did not make it into the buy on Friday, but today it's fighting to get into the buy. Its weekly is showing some nice life there. Let's just take a look at again the dollar Turkish Lira. Weekly is also showing some life there. So both of them are starting to lift up. You can see over on the J4X, right there, you know, it's starting to turn. This thing is coming into some type of bottom at the moment, and we'll see if that rises up and we get another move on the upside. Now, we've wondered for a while now, over the last couple months, is the Turkish Lira more susceptible to movement of the dollar than most products? And we think yes. So we're seeing, you know, some movement on the upside. We're many weeks in a sell. What is that now? 17. So it's 6 weeks in a sell on the euro against the dollar. I'm sorry, the euro against the Turkish Lira. That is 8 weeks in a sell, going on 9. So if they both turn up here, that could be a sign of some really good strength, or I'd say it's weakness for the Turkish Lira, but strength for the dollar against the Turkish Lira, or the euro against the Turkish Lira. It will be showing real signs of life, you know, some real action there. Quiet day starting off. I guess everybody's like, Monday, oh my God. I say, thank goodness for Monday. All right, now we go over to Canadian right there. Now, they are in the political season. Understand I was watching some, or I was reading, not watching, but I was reading some stuff on what was going on up there, who's running and so forth, and it just sounds like it all over the place. Lots of frustration. In this case here, you see the, what is that right there? You can see we've been in a daily buy for a couple days since right there in the Canadian. And you can see we've been in a weekly buy for a while there. Let's see, that is line 20. And we're looking at, let's see, 12 weeks in a weekly buy. We went into that weekly buy in the low 120 area. And here we are, we've gotten as high as 129, and it's hanging out in the 126 as we speak. Just a little bit underneath the 126. Normally, we see the Canadian show some, real gains against the dollar when we see gold go up in value and we see oil go up in value, that type of thing. They seem to be very tied to those two commodities. But I don't think we're really seeing that. I know that right now it's doing exactly, well, actually, it is trying to go down, but oil's going down. And let's see where gold is too. We're just going to switch gears for a second and take a look at those two commodities. Let's see, where's that mouse at? Right there. And I just want to check our sound, make sure it's sounding good. There we go, I can hear the sound. Good. Alright, let's jump over to, let's see, we'll go like that. There's the crude oil. There we are. As you can see there's crude oil, and it is trying to move down. It was lower. It is pushing back up pretty well there. And you can see there we are flirting with the daily sell right there on it. Let's see what it does on J4X. There it is there. J4X has a lot of green dots, or in this case green bars. Chicago Quant obviously is pressing a little bit against it. You can see at the top of the screen there it's got the little red line going on, and it's even playing with a red dot at the moment. Right there. We'll see, this is starting to curve. I have my doubts that it has any real desire to go anywhere at the moment. We saw natural gas exploding, so I think they're concerned about temperatures and so forth. We'll see. But natural gas went flying up last week. We'll check that out when we come back to the commodities. And let's just take a quick look at gold at the same time. Gold right there. Gold is down a little bit, just a little bit, but it's flirting with the weekly sell. And just as we think we can trust a thing, it's been in a weekly buy for like 3 weeks, it gets a little sloppy in here. Now we're in a daily buy, and that's fine. And we'll, just obviously watch the math and see where it takes us. At this point, we're thinking this is just a little digestion, and that maybe it'll take it back up even a little bit more. With this inflation thing going on, you would think that there'd be a firmness in gold. It doesn't seem to work that way anymore. I mean, I guess you could say that is a firmness. That is a firmness. It's higher than what it's been the last couple weeks. When it went into the weekly buy, you can see it's been trying to climb up. Someone was going after Paul Tudor Jones about an hour ago on the TV. And he has a big gold fund, and he's been getting his head handed to him. And they were saying, why do they pay attention to him anymore? I mean, he hasn't been right, they say, since like 2009. And they say he's long gold from 2000. And, it's run back up there once, but before that it went down to 1,000, lost 50% of its value, and he lost his fund, that particular gold fund, and now he's back in it again. And, just the whole thing just seems like there's just not a lot of good, clean direction in these products. And when we come back to them, we'll take a look at silver and all that other stuff. But right now, let's jump over to, let's see, where do we go from here? I guess let's go from here. We'll head over to, let me think, what is it that we jump from here from? And that is, we go and take a look at the other currency pairs now. So we go to the South African Rand. Right, where are you? It's around here somewhere. ZAR. How can a big Z hide? I don't know. There it is. dollar ZAR or dollar rand. And let's see what it looks like on Chicago Quant. Now it is moving down and gold is sideways up, so I guess it fits the scenario perfectly. And right there on Chicago Quant, same thing, you know, it should be going down because we've been seeing, you know, silver and gold and everything showing some life in it. We've been seeing some of the energy show it. So normally this product does go down against, well, in this case here, the dollar is obviously losing its value. And the South African rand is gaining in value because there's less rand to the dollar. All right, now we jump over to the ruble. Let's take a look at that ruble. Right there. I'll also put it up on the Chicago Quant. Right there. Let's just refresh that. You can see we are in a second day of a sell right here. It's not really going anywhere, and at the same time, as much as we've been in a weekly sell and going in the wrong direction from here, where we went into the weekly sell and went right into the daily buy, so it's been a neutral stance. Now we are going into a daily sell, and just as we're doing that, now we have the weekly above the zero line, again forcing us again to stare and wait. And that's pretty much how we always trade around here, is that we try not to rush into things. We try to, you know, be focused and coherent. And that's the that's the oddest thing of all. So you can see here Ruble heading down on the Chicago, the J4X, and the same thing with the Chicago Quant, trying to head down. That's the dots. Oh, wrong one. Let's try to go there. There we go. There we are. Just like in the J4X, you can see the hinkies are minus. Let's see, where do we go from here? From here we jump over to the yen. And there's the yen. You can see it's flirting with a daily sell just as we are flirting with a weekly buy. You know, it just goes on and on. There's not a lot of conviction in all these markets at the moment. That's why our math is doing that. Why it's reading reading the natural direction of the markets. Alright, and there is the same thing. Put it up on there with the J4X, and that is the yen against the dollar against the yen. Where are you? There you are. And there you can see the Hinky Ashy's trying to turn over. We've got a red dot, it's got a red bar, and our daily is flirting with the sell side. And let's see where we are on the Chicago Quant on the daily. Same thing, flirting with a sell. Both are doing the same thing. Doing the same thing. It's trying to go to the sell. Let's see there. There we are. What else can we say about the yen? Yen's been pretty steady and consistent. Like all the products, they all seem to be in their little trading ranges, the way the central banks want them to be. In this case here, the yen is, you know, just flatlining even more. What else can we say about the yen? I guess Uh, just recently, we've seen some activity out of Tokyo and the Bank of Japan, but overall, for months, it's been relatively quiet. And when it comes to the currency pairs in general, you can see they've all have that same characteristic. They're really tight and in consistent range inside an envelope, or a channel, or however you like to refer to it. And so I don't really think that we have a lot of direction. And usually going into September, markets try to find a spot, but they don't. In this case here, you've got inflation going on. You've got the Afghanistan situation going on. You've got what else is there that you can point to? You have enormous spending by the U.S. government. There's a lot of noise out there, and it's all foolish type of stuff. Very foolish, and it seems like they're trying to, a lot of times, summers are dead normally, and ever since quantitative easing, summers are not dead. And I have to say that this summer I thought was one of the more quieter summers that we've had. And matter of fact, I was reading something. It was very interesting. About what was it exactly? It was about the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve and how much it has expanded. And that's pretty much where my head's at. It's like it's the summer. There are times where we see some good action, and then sometimes it just has no action at all. Now we'll go to the Mexican peso and finish off the pairs trades here, but I don't see any real, we used to call it conviction, money wanting to be committed to, a particular direction. All right, now you see here, we think that it's got this going on here. We thought that it was going to go a little bit higher, maybe come up, just a little bit past the 20.6 or 7. Right now we can see the weekly is dancing along and trying to show some life, but the daily today is pushing into the sell here on the dollar peso pairs trade. All right, from here we're going to drift over to the commodities now. Let's see. Let's switch this to down there. All right, and we'll go like that. And I want to go to natural gas. That's the first one because I'm still impressed with the action we're seeing in natural gas. Today we're playing with the sell side of it in a pretty dramatic way. But this daily buy ignited here within, above the weekly buy a week ago, and it just took off and showed real life to it. It was really impressive. I mean, it went from the low underneath $4 a foot, a cubic foot, to almost like 440. Is that what it is? The high was 456. It's a heck of a move. Doc is always talking about the idea that I see, weather kicking out in the sense of, like a what do they call it? An ice age. The last 10. I talk about the NASA maps, and I talked about it last week, and I kind of make jokes out of it, but it's real. That is that the NASA maps that come out once a month from a satellite that reads the temperature across the planet shows for the last 10 years that we're cooling down this planet. The planet is getting cooler, not hotter. But the environmental people keep on taking those NASA maps and then they white out the heat. And all they do is vice versa. They wipe out all the cold and they just show you the heat. And they keep on telling everybody that the world is getting warmer. And so, it's a very strange thing that goes on, and it's been going on for years now. And so we're now 10 years. Matter of fact, the next NASA map that comes, they come out once a month. It's a satellite thing. And when it comes out, I think I'll do a webinar on that, for commodities and so forth, and show the NASA maps and then the EEM, these environmental maps. They take them on and they just wash them. It's amazing. And so, it says a lot to me when we watched natural gas climb the way it did. Let's see how it looks in J4X. But natural gas has come from the 280 area over the last 6 months or so. Right there it is, right there. Natural gas. And as you can see on line, what is that, 9? 10, yeah. We went into a sell for 1 week, and now we're back again into the buy last week. Let me see if we can put it up here. We were in a weekly buy in that product for, I don't know, here it is, we'll show you. We went into a buy in mid-April. Back in here, in the 280 area, 275, 280 area. And the thing climbed to all the way up to here, which was basically the highs were 425, 426. Then it went into one weekly sell right there. You see that? And then it jumped right into a daily buy the moment it went into a weekly sell. So it was a neutral. Then it started to take off again. And then we can widen this out. You can see there. Now here we are in the buy, and it goes from the $4 area to the 456 area, which is amazing. Just that explosive move. So I can't interpret it any other way that natural gas is in demand. Obviously, going from 280 to 456, that's a big, giant move in a product, especially this time of the year. Usually people are not really paying attention to natural gas in April, May, June, and July. They start to, sometimes you can see natural gas get some life into it going into the later part of July or mid-July. And sometimes if the Weather Bureau is putting out statistics about coldness, money seems to move into it. In this case here, the NASA maps have been telling us that the world's getting colder now for the last 10 years. And, obviously the disinformation by the environmentalists really make it very strange. They blatantly cover up the heat. Is it the heat? No, I always want to say it's the other way around because I'm from that side of it. They cover up the cold and they hide the fact that it's getting colder. So it really makes it very confusing, at least for me. It's like, geez, what's wrong with these people? But anyway, that's where we are. I think I wrote something over the weekend that said I compared them to the sun worshippers of the 3rd century. They seem to be some type of religious movement, but they claim to be science. I saw a physicist from, one of my physicist friends from out west say, it doesn't matter how many times you tell us that you have a consensus. The only reason you have a consensus is you keep on cutting out 90% of the scientists from speaking. So in other words, they've narrowed it down where they're looking at 3 and 4 and 5% of the scientists and saying, well, we have a majority of these scientists. Well, yeah, if you keep on shutting off the voice of all the others, of course you do. That's just pure math. But if you allow the general, I saw where 30,000 scientists came out and said, no, there is no such thing. Even the great late Freeman Dyson would not commit to the idea that there was global warming going on. He just said it's a political thing. And that was it, not science. So Freeman was always very brave and he documented everything. And he was a Democrat, no less. So, it just shows you how confusing scientific data is nowadays because they only allow a certain amount. Matter of fact, there was a fellow from the New York Times, which I could care less about, was blocked from Twitter over the last 72 hours because he cited a study in Israel about COVID. And now he's not allowed to talk on Twitter. The left will go after anybody. Left, right, center, doesn't matter. They'll go after everybody if they don't toe the line. It's a very weird world. All right, let's see. Let's go to the chat line again, make sure no one's asking anything. I don't see anybody asking anything, so there we go. All right, so from here, you can see natural gas really selling down today. And the weekly's still holding up, so we'll keep an eye on that. By the end of the week, we'll probably be back up there. We looked at crude earlier. Crude is down, and it's trying to lift up, but you can see it's another weekend to sell at the moment. Then we go over and we take a look at the metals. What did I show you? Cattle? It's cattle. Why is crude? I'm sorry, it's crude, not cattle. Let's take, and there's the gold. And so gold is trying to move down a little bit, and it's also flirting with its weekly sell, as we saw when we were looking at the Canadian with it and the South African Rand. And now, at the same time, we go and check out the silver, which we thought silver was starting to show some life to it, and I really thought that the weekly would be closer to the number on the zero line today, but it doesn't seem to have any real heart right now. Now you can see we're in a daily, what is it, on the fact check spreadsheet, line 9. 16 weeks now in a sell. 16 weeks. That's a while, you know. A quarter of the year. It's been in a sell, a weekly sell. Let's refresh that. There we are. It's been in a weekly sell now since the mid of May, from the 27 or 28 area. 28-ish area. It's made some interesting lows. We've gone down to the high 22s, and maybe this is the week we start to firm up. We keep on thinking. Robbins says to me all the time, he sees something that's trying to perk its head up, but they seem to stop it. And we went through this last week. We discussed the idea of how they basically have taken. Let's see, how do I phrase this to be exact? They taken these commodities, and I'm talking about metal commodities, and we've talked about this last week, and grains and so forth, beans, wheat, corn, and turned them into currencies. They're using them as a currency surrogate. It really makes it even more of a confusion when you're trying to follow the fundamentals there. Hey Andy, how you doing? Andy, good morning. Doc, happy Monday. Yes, TGIM. I'm out here out on the limb by myself, it seems like, but thank you for saying hi. And what can we do for you today? Anything interesting would you like to see? We'd like to look at the Russell 2000, please. Well, sure. Matter of fact, Robin said we just got a new person today that's interested in that. Let's check that out. Right there. I was really impressed with the Russell. It really lifted last week and last week and a half when it tried to make the lows and did not make it. We were watching that 2 weeks ago. Let's just scrunch that up a little bit. See how it made this low here in July, mid-July, and it made a low of $2,100 and a dollar or a point, and then we got down to 21.16.9. So 15 points higher. 15, 16 points higher. Did not make a new low, and now we're taking out this high, and we're going after this high, and who knows, we might be going after these. These are all-time highs right up in there. And so we've been in a weekly buy for just since Friday. Been in a daily buy since this low right here. So there's definitely some, hey Robin, so there's definitely some buying going on there. There's some hunger. And the Russell is what I always say is our weakest of the 4 indices here in the States. So, we kind of watch that and see that it doesn't have the sellers as much as we thought we were starting to see when it looked like here, where it was breaking down. The NASDAQ and the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones all were acting like they were trying to break down, and now they're not breaking down, and the Russell has not broken down as much as we went into the weekly sell. Where is it? Right here? Yeah. we went into the weekly sell here, and oh no, actually we went into the weekly sell right there, and because of the volatility dots, it never got back into the buy there, and so it's been in a sell since here, and has ridden all the way down to there, and we were in a weekly sell at the time. Underneath it, it confirmed it around in here, and sure enough, it was a wonderful sell-off. But didn't I thought maybe they were going to take out the lows, and maybe we're going to see some real weakness kick in, but didn't seem to happen. Not even close. And it's a very weak index, you know, when it comes to the earnings, you know, PEs and so forth. But no, you know, very interesting action in that. We can look at some of the other stock indices and you'll see some comparison. We can drift from the commodities to that. So that's the action we see. All right, now let's do that. We're going to jump over to a couple of those stock indices just to give you the flavor of what's been going on, how much the Russell sold down and is battling. Let's go here, J4X to start off with. How do we lose that? Oh, it's up there. There it is. And here is, let's look at the S&P 500 right there. And we're going to put the S&P 500 up on this too at the same time. You see here, it's been in a buy since there, and it's acting very firm, playing with all-time highs. You know, it doesn't seem to want to stop. And you can see, where can you see? You can see right here, same thing as J4X. The only difference is you can see our weekly. This doesn't, the J4X doesn't have our weekly on it. You'd have to change this to a weekly. But you can see right here, it's drifting underneath the time manifold. They seem to be trying to show some weakness, but it's just not happening. And I'd imagine it's going to be that way. You know, you know, we've seen. You know, I'm looking for the words. I want to tell you about what was the norm for many decades and almost centuries. And now, since quantitative easing in 2008, the nature of the market, following like the Farmer's Almanac, the Trader's Almanac and so forth, is just not, it just doesn't follow it as well. And it's because of, I think I could put it up there. They showed the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve going from something like 6 trillion to 8 trillion over the last 6 months or something like that. It's a heck of a leap. I mean, they've been buying things up. I can understand with the COVID situation, they were trying to keep things firm, but they don't let it go down. I mean, COVID has calmed down now. Let the markets breathe, but they don't. They just keep on buying. And Powell, you know, the Wall Street Journal this morning, the Federal Reserve Chairman, Powell, they said basically has made statements that are just political statements, but they're not market statements. And so he says, you know, they said the White House must be very happy to have the, you know, Powell there, and Powell wants a second term. So that's exactly what's going on at the moment here, is that we see a Fed chair who is fighting to keep his job. And the only way he can keep his job is if he lets the financial spigots of money pouring out. And that was what Jackson Hole was supposed to be all about, was supposed to be the beginning of some responsible level of tightening. And there's a lot of people in this country starting to equate the freewheeling money to inflation, which is normal. But I just heard, was it Zandy or something like that? The guy that, one of the Democrat economists got up there this morning, and he just said, "Oh no, you know, you're mistaken. You know, it's you know, it has nothing to do with the spending that's going on." Take a sip of that water again. So I mean, we are in uncharted territory, which is nice because our quant keeps us safe. But when it comes to the fundamentals, there just isn't any fundamentals we can trust. And it'll probably, here's the classic too. What'll probably happen is that all these brokerage houses and banks and so forth will start to get rid of a lot of their financial fundamentalists. Fundamentals. People who do the fundamental math to see where prices should be. And wouldn't surprise me is we see a reduction in analysis in the financial institutions, and then the world starts to get upside down. In other words, that maybe, you always look for that one straw that breaks the camel's back, You look for that one thing that when you go back and look in history, you go, oh, God, why didn't we realize that's what it was, And it wouldn't surprise me if you see companies like brokerage houses and banks start to release their analysis side, start to get rid of them. And that'll be classic. Then the markets go totally in a tizzy, and now they're scurrying the higher analysts again. And that would not surprise me any. I actually now do expect that to happen. It would make sense that some type of job layoff in the brokerage and banking sector on economic and fundamental analysis. And just as they get rid of them, boom, it hits us. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever that the fundamentals, like sooner or later, the Fed chair, he said back in June, that's transitory, don't worry about it, a few months, it's going. Well, it's sitting here. The inflation numbers are sitting here, and even the White House has increased their estimate of what inflation is going to be. Nothing like what it is, but at least they've doubled it, from like 1.5 to 3. So, right now it's cruising around a little underneath 7. And also, I saw where the bond auction, here, let's put that up there. Let me show you the 10-year and the 30-year. There's the 30-year right there. We're in a buy for, since Friday. It's flirting with the sell today. You can see that there. And then the 10-year right here, pretty much doing the same thing. It's jumped. It can't, but it hasn't because of the dots. But it's trying to jump up. We got the lines going up, but notice the dots are holding you back. And on the weekly, it's off the 0 line. It's still in the sell. So it's been interesting because the 10-year has been reflecting a lot more weakness than the 30-year, and that is kind of surprising in many ways. Let's see where we got here. All right, where are we at here? Let's just double check the chat line. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Andy. No problem at all. And so, it's well worth looking at the other stock indices, and we were looking at we looked at the S&P. Let's go over to the Nasdaq 100. Right there. It's showing a second day in a buy after just one day in a sell. You can see the weekly's bounced off the time manifold there. They're not giving that up any. And let's see what it looks like on J4X. There it is there. Dukascopy, and most brokerages call it the Tech 100. Because that's what it really is. It's 100 of the top tech NASDAQ stocks. And you notice they're not adding New York Stock Exchange stocks to the Tech 100. They're only adding NASDAQ stocks, whereas the Dow Jones Industrial Average has 5 or 6 of the NASDAQ stocks in it now. So it's not a New York Stock Exchange sole product at the moment. All right, let's see, what else shall we say about that? I guess that's about it. Let's take a nice look at last, and that is the big gray lady. And that is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And you can see all these are in buys. They're all been in weekly buys for a while here. You can see that. There's the Dow. There's the S&P 500. Same thing way back there. And the Nasdaq 100 been in a buy even longer, since early June. What's that on the fact check? That's right, 12. 12 weeks in a buy versus the S&P's 10 weeks in a buy. We are not seeing money move out of the stocks. The stock market has just made, I heard it was 51 all-time highs this year. You know, we're only what, 200, are we 200 days? What we got? We got 120 days to go. So we're 240 days, and out of it, almost every fourth day we go into a new all-time high. Wow. And we've got earnings, you know, ripping through the roof because of the COVID shutdown. But are those earnings going to stick around? I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. What can I say about that? I guess that's about it. You know, and let's just take a look at that Dow Jones Industrial Average one more time. Right there. Well, we just keep on watching the math. That's all we can do, you know. Let's see. And what else to be said about the 4 stock indices? Nothing, except for when the Fed allows their balance sheet to grow by a couple extra trillion, they got to be buying something that's in the stock market, that's for sure. All right. Now, from there, we've looked at the metals. Oh, we didn't look at platinum. Let's see what they're doing with the platinum today. We've seen gold and we've seen silver. Let's see what platinum's doing. Platinum's a little bit firmer, which is kind of interesting. Still trading in the 780 area, maybe? You just take where gold is. No, okay. So it's now trading in the $808 area. So they're pushing through that. Let's see. Sunny day. That's where it comes down to. All right. So we've looked at the metals, we've looked at the energies, we've looked at the stock indices. And it's rare we looked at all 4 of them, which was kind of cute. You know, we haven't looked at that. I mean, I've been following the Russell, but not really talking. We don't have anybody in it at the moment, so I'm just the only one following it. Maybe Robin and I, and that's about it. All right, what do we got over on Dukascopy? We've got, that's the Tech 100 there. You can see the markets are starting to firm up for the, let's take a look at it on a short-term basis. We'll do that. Let's go over to the my intraday and take a quick look at that, unless someone wants to see something, and see how they're sizing up the opening. Let's see, is it right there? Yeah, there it is, right there. See how they're sizing up the opening. You can see the S&P's today up 6 points, 6.5 points. The NASDAQ or the Tech 100 up 20 points, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 25 points. So the 3 of them are just slowly pushing in the same positive direction over and over and over and over again. There we are. What else can I say about that? Nothing more than that they're just very firm. They're buying them. Look at the NASDAQ, the Tech 100. They're starting to push on that. We'll take a look at that on a short-term basis. You can see there, they're trying to get it into the buy. We're waiting for a green dot to close and confirm there. We're looking at a 1 Tesla, I think we call it that. It's a 369 bar, and I call that 1 full Tesla. And it's trying to lift up. You can see down in here, you know, the green line is breaking through the 2 time manifolds and has that runnerish, I used to call it, that runnerish look where it wants to go up, not down. Yeah, exactly. It has that runnerish look. All right, from there you go. Okay, so they closed it in the daily buy. Now let's see how they perk it up. But you can see it's already trying to curve. So maybe it'll take it down a little bit and then pop it again over the next 30 or 40 seconds, something like that. And that's the action we're seeing there. I'm just waiting to see it jump up and make a new high here. And then I'll jump over to the S&Ps and see what they're doing. I think we use a 2 Tesla chart, a 2 Tesla bar on that one. Wow, quiet still. Look at that. With 3.5 minutes to the opening. Let's just take a quick look at the S&Ps right there. That's a 2 Tesla. And it went into the buy right there. It's got the volatility signal here. You can see it's starting to make a climb. Let's see if the NASDAQ has just done the same thing on the 1 Tesla. Yep, made new highs. It's taken off. The money is coming in because it could be the Fed, it could be anybody at this point. They have nowhere else to go. I mean, they don't seem to want to go and buy anything else but U.S. stocks day in and day out. It seems to be the recipe for the future of value at this point. They just, every 4 days, they find a way to make a new high this year. All-time high, which is an incredible number. All right, let me see, what else do we got going on there? Don't really have much more to say, I guess. That does seem to be the action. So what we're going to do is, I guess we'll just start moseying along to the trading for the day. So this has been Doc. It's been a quiet Monday. We've looked at a few stock indices. We've talked about, what should we call this webinar too? We've talked about the lack of follow through in GBP and Euro and so forth. In other words, they're all trapped in a channel. That seems to be the whole story out of it all, which is very strange. I mean, it is very strange. We keep on expecting to see different results, and we don't. It just goes on and on and on. They just have no, I don't know, there's just no other conviction but taking it to the moon. All right. So this is Doc from North America. We will catch you again tomorrow on Tuesday. So happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our Dukascopy and cyber trading friends. Ta-ta for now.